Good morning to everyone, to all the participants. Do you hear me and do you see me? Good morning to everyone. Good morning and good afternoon to those joining from the Netherlands. Buenos dias. Welcome to this webinar about circular construction opportunities in Colombia. My name is Carolina Ramakers and I'm the head of the economic section of the embassy here in Bogota. And I'm very glad to welcome the participants and the companies today here in the webinar. We're a small group, but we have a diverse group of people and that have hopefully a real interest in Colombia, also from the Netherlands and from Curaçao and Aruba. So this webinar is meant for you. We organized this webinar as the embassy in Bogota together with the Netherlands Real Estate Enterprise, the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, RVO, and Holland House, that is the bilateral Chamber of Commerce in Bogota. So also a warm welcome on behalf of them. Today we will present a study in circular construction, which provides us with a state of play of the circular construction sector in Colombia. It is based on desk research and on interviews that my colleagues have done with help of a few of you already. And this study provides you with the business opportunities in this specific sector for Dutch entrepreneurs. And as we will see, the construction sector in Colombia is one of the more vibrant and dynamic sectors of Colombia. And Colombia is also it was the first country in Latin America to actually have a circular economy strategy. Now, that's already, I think, interesting facts for you to know and which might provide opportunities. We will see more about that in the studies. My colleague Natalia Piñeros and Lina Maria Safra from the Holland House will present this in a few minutes. And after this presentation, we will learn firsthand from Liongo Juliana, who is the director of OZ Architects, who will share his perspective on doing business in this sector in Colombia. And we will receive a presentation by Nico Smit from the Netherlands Enterprise Agency about the various instruments that the government in the Netherlands has available for entrepreneurs abroad. But let's first start with the presentation by Natalia Piñeros, who is our trade officer at the embassy in Bogota and responsible for circular economy in the embassy, and by Lina Maria Safra, who is consultant at the bilateral Chamber of Commerce Holland House. Ladies, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Let me. Okay, first of all, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's very important for us to share this information with you. It is important to mention that this is a short overview about the study that we made. So we would like to start with a little bit about the GDP here in Colombia. The contribution of the construction sector grew from representing 3.6% of the total GDP in 2008 to 14% of the total GDP 10 years later in 2018. This positioned the sector as one of the 6 more important sectors within the 26 productive branches of the country. For 2018, the construction sector and its branches represented 14% of the national GDP. Here in Colombia, the construction sector has 2 main aspects: the residential, that represent the 48%, and the non-residential and infrastructure, that represented the 51%. Between 2013 and 2018, the Colombian construction sector attracted a total of $3,276 million in foreign direct investment. And in 2018, Colombia was recognized by the World Bank as the 3rd most competitive country in the world in terms of regulation for the financing of infrastructure projects under the public-private partnership model. Okay, in this slide, we wanted to show you the construction projects here in Colombia, the status. Here in Colombia, the 84% of the projects correspond to construction projects that are still in progress, the 14% to new constructions, and the 2% to restarted constructions. Also, in the other graphic at the right side, you can see the main cities regarding to construction in Colombia. In Bogotá, Medellin, and the Department of Cundinamarca, the amount of new construction projects and constructions in processes grew significantly. In this slide, we present the percentage of the use of construction materials here in Colombia. The main ones are on the right side: the cement and concrete with $2 billion American dollars, the iron manufacturers with $1.9 billion, the construction chemicals and paints with $710 million American dollars, and PVC and plastic for construction with $568 million American dollars. Now, regarding to the imports of construction materials, we can see in this slide some numbers for 2019 and 2020. Also, for cement and concrete, we have that the most common countries of origin were Turkey, USA, and China. For iron and steel, Mexico, Brazil, Japan, and China. For glass, Spain, Mexico, and Japan. And for chemical and paints, Turkey, United States, and China. Now, regarding to the environmental aspects, we found that the sector generates the 40% of the total waste here in the country, also generates the 30% of the total CO2 emissions in Colombia, and also consumes the 40% of the total consumed energy in the country. In Colombia, we ended up having 22 million of ton constructions and demolition waste per year, and 90% of this waste is taken to landfills or left on lands without an owner. Here is an example. Here we have some percentage about the demolition and construction waste. The biggest one is the concrete with 46%, and followed by the materials and mixed materials. Now, in the next two slides, we wanted to mention our stakeholders here in Colombia. Here we have the national government, the Ministry of Labor, the planning offices, and here we have some organization and association at the public and private sector, Colombian Council for Sustainable Construction, the Colombian Association of Architects, among others. Now we wanted to present this slide, the National Development Plan here in Colombia for 2019 and 2022. This is the basis and provides the strategic guidelines for public policies formulated by the President through the government team. In this document, we can find an objective that is sustainability, that is produce conserving and conserve producing. Here we found two premises that are sectors committed to sustainability and mitigation of climate change, and acceleration the circular economy as a basis of waste reduction. This is important because here in Colombia, all the projects must be aligned to the P&D to have a bigger opportunity of execution and investment. Now, in line with the National Development Plan, we thought it was important to mention that Colombia is the first country in Latin America to establish a circular economy strategy. This document has 6 specific points, and one of them is the flow of construction materials. That means that we as a country are prioritizing these processes in our public policies. And now, regarding to sustainable construction, in Colombia, we describe this type of construction with 7 principles that you can see them in the slide: apply life cycle analysis, focus on quality, eliminate toxic processes, reduce consumption of natural resources, reuse resources, use recycled resources, and protect nature. And also at the right side, you can see a graphic about the LEED Green Building certification in Latin America. Colombia is the 3rd country regarding the number of projects with LEED certification, with 122 projects certified. Also, we have here in Colombia the LEED certification and the EDGE certification. Regarding the LEED certification, we have 11 projects in the final certification stage, 47 projects in preliminary certification, and 108 projects in the registration process. And regarding to EDGE certification, we had 151 certified projects and 222 projects in the registration process. And the main cities of these projects are Medellin, Bogotá, Barranquilla, Cali, and Armenia. In Colombia, we also have our own sustainable construction certification that is given by the Colombian Council for Sustainable Construction that involves variables such as sustainability in environment, water efficiency, well-being, energy efficiency, among others, and has a qualification system from 1 to 5, being 1 good and 5 exceptional. So that it's like an overview about the situation of construction and sustainable construction here in Colombia. And now we wanted to tell you something about our challenges and opportunities. That it's Natalia.
Thank you, Lina. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. Briefly, we are going to present the challenges and opportunities in the sector. Please go ahead, Lina. Okay, as you have seen, there have been a lot of changes since the pandemic started. And of course, Colombia is not an exception. You will see that there was a decrease in the imports of main natural resources from other countries. I believe especially from China, which is a very big producer of iron and steel and other type of natural resources. So we saw the big change in the past year, but let's say it says that the construction sector in Colombia is recovering little by little. Go ahead, Linita, please. Okay. As Lina mentioned already, the National Development Plan is one of the most important tools that we have in the country for reactivating and for following the policies of reactivating the economy in Colombia. And of course, there is a new commitment to job creation and commitment to clean growth. As Lina mentioned, the construction sector is one of the most important sectors that drives the economy in our country. So it is envisioned that in this post-pandemic period, the sectors with high potential is one of the high potential for creating jobs is the construction sector. Go ahead, Linda. Well, of course, in every country there are challenges, there are barriers. So we have here the culture and education is considered one of the barriers in Colombia. The business culture is not an easy country, but it's not impossible as well. We are going to give some tips a little bit further. And the bureaucracy and legislation are found as one of the barriers that companies find when they want to do business in Colombia. Go ahead, please. In the construction sector, of course, we have been changing a little bit from the traditional archaic way of doing construction to a more sustainable and more futuristic way of doing construction. So Colombia is changing little by little in the way of thinking projects from the start till the end and the way the resources are used. So for instance, the way the construction and the products are thought in the design phase are now changing little by little for using different approaches more towards the circular economy approach. Go ahead, Linita. So in our investigation, we found 4 or 5 opportunities that we see possibilities for Dutch companies or for to start doing business in this sector in Colombia. The first opportunity we found is about the knowledge and new concepts in building materials. As I have mentioned, Colombia is kind of little by little changing the approach of how the natural resources are used and how we can provide new construction materials into the value chain. So for instance, the prefabricated and modular construction is one of the approaches. And of course, all these projects, big projects of big builders are now trying to incorporate these new technologies and BIM approaches towards a new sustainable construction. Go ahead. Something that I forgot to explain here, we put in every slide of opportunity the Dutch companies that we think could be part of these opportunities, but it doesn't mean they are the only ones, it's just an example. So the second opportunity we found is knowledge and new elements in architecture. So this new approach to architecture is very valuable. So support on knowledge, materials, and technologies for the creation of green walls and roofs, support on knowledge, materials, and technologies for saving resources, and support on knowledge and materials and technologies for using solar energy to save energy. So as you see, this sustainable approach towards architecture is also something that Colombia is kind of opening little by little to receive, to learn, to apply, and then we can see some projects already going on, which are applying this type of focus in order to change to a linear economy to a circular economy. Continue, please. The third opportunity is the knowledge and new elements in waste transformation. The use of construction waste, as you know, the construction waste is one of the most of the value chain, is one of the one that gives more pollution to the environment in terms of what to do with this. So we found out that in Colombia, this is a very big opportunity for construction and demolition. In terms of how the resources are thought since the beginning, how they will be used, how they will be treated, and how they will be disposed. This is a big change, like I mean, in terms of how we see the whole construction process. This part is essential, and we see that the Netherlands could contribute very much to try to change the way we do it here. So, for instance, there are some interesting projects in Colombia that are led by the Ministry of the Environment in different cities, Barranquilla, Guajira, that are trying to do in their development plans new different ways of disposing this type of materials, which as Lina mentioned already, this waste is going to landfills or no one knows what to do. So there is a good opportunity on that. Next, please. And one very important opportunity we found is the knowledge transfer in the academic sector. Sometimes here, or well, in Colombia, it's not so common that the academic sector plays a role in terms of how collaboration could be done together with the private sector and the public sector. So the academic sector plays a very nice role because they are using their disciplines, or they are using their resources to try to expand to other areas, and through collaboration this could be very good, as it is done in the Netherlands. So we had some conversations with some universities that are interested in working on this field and work together with the public and the private sector. But of course, this will take time, and this is a challenge. And we see that in the Netherlands, this is something that has been developed in every single sector that is in the economy. And we would like to bring this experience to the Colombian sector. And as well, the knowledge and training in the construction process. So in the past years, I think it was in 2019, we had a very nice participation of one Dutch company in the Circular Economy Congress. That was Madaster. And they shared their experience here, and they found out that Colombia has a lot to do in terms of knowledge exchange and expertise exchange. So we see that the Netherlands is quite advanced in many things that we don't have here. It doesn't mean that the Netherlands will come here and do the same things they do there in Colombia, but we can learn from that. So a lot of room is open for knowledge and training in the different parts of the construction process. Go ahead, Linda. So, of course, this is a very short presentation, but we can give you more tips about how to do business in Colombia. In the study, you will find more information of the context and all the information we found during the investigation. But of course, doing business in Colombia, we will say is very important, first of all, to have a contact with us, with the embassy, because we can give you a very good overview of what is going on in the sector, what is happening in the country, how the economy is developing, how the economy is doing. And of course, we support our work, and we're working hard very much with Holland House. Holland House is the bilateral chamber of commerce, and with them we develop events, we develop seminars, and we did this study. So we will have a very good support for you as companies that are interested in doing business in Colombia. Well, I can give you more, but we don't have so much time left. We will have some events here in Colombia. Of course, most of them, or I would say more or less all of them, will be virtual. So we can provide you more information regarding that if you are interested in participating. Yes, Lina. And it's likely that the Camacol Congress will take place this year in a virtual format. Camacol is like the chamber, the Cámara Colombiana, the construction chamber in Colombia, one of the main private players in the sector. And we are working in hand with them. And let's say if there is a possibility to do the Congress this year, it might be possible that we will participate, but we will inform you soon if this is going to happen. Well, some contacts. Of course, we are working in hand with the Holland Circular Hotspot. We recently developed, together with other 5 Latin American countries, a study about waste management in Latin America and business opportunities for Dutch companies. We can also share that in the coming communications. Well, that was very, very fast. I hope we didn't talk so fast, but of course there will be a space for questions. And now I give the word to Caroline. Thank you so much, and good to hear you and see you.
Thanks, Natalia. Thanks, Lina. I think this was already a very informative presentation. I believe we're all dog lovers. I hope mine won't bark as loud as yours, Natalia. But no, that's fine. That's fine. It was fully understandable. So thank you for all of you. The presentation will be sent to you by email after this webinar, so you'll receive the more information. Let's quickly go now to Liongo Juliana, who is the director of OZ Architects. Liongo studied architectural engineering at the Technical University in Eindhoven, and the Caribbean region has been Liongo's work field for the past 25 years. And in 2010, Liongo visited Medellin, and that was apparently so inspiring that he started a collaboration with Colombian architects, amongst others, on diversity and inclusivity in architecture. And Liongo is also fellow at Pakhuis de Zwijger as part of the program Designing Cities for All of Us. Please, Liongo, thanks for being with us. Go ahead, you have the floor.
Thank you, Carolina. I will give a short presentation on my experience. As stated in your introduction. Yes, I kind of fell in love with Colombia after my first visit in 2010. I had a lecture first in 2007 about the transformation of Medellin by Alejandro Echeverri in Curacao during an architectural seminar. And I thought it was too good to be true. And it took me 3 years to overcome my prejudice. And I visited Medellin and saw that it is, of course, there's still many challenges, but the transformation is really incredible. And it really gave me belief in my work as an architect and urban designer, so that you can have transformation. So that's a short introduction on that. Well, often people ask, where are you from? Well, these are the places I live in the past nearly 51 years. I moved back and forth between the Caribbean and the Netherlands, and the Netherlands seems to be like a constant in this. Whoever knows what the future will bring. As the introduction, so seeing projects like this, the PUIs, the Proyectos Urbanos Integrales, where they planned high-end architecture in between the barrios startup transformation was really, really inspiring to me. So we talked about that already. I participated in a mission, a trade mission, which I can advise everyone to do. It's a very compact way to meet a lot of people in a short period of time. So that was really inspiring also. After that, I participated also in a workshop with 5 Colombian architects and 5 Dutch architects and urban designers. And we worked on a transformation of an area. It was still a military base at that time in the city of Pereira, which really taught me a lot about the process. So it's also, what is also important when you try to do business elsewhere is to see also what they can give you. So it's not only a one-way direction, but it should be a two-way direction, because if it's good for both of you, it makes collaborating much more interesting for both parties. Of course, these workshops also have fun parts. This was a field trip to the coffee plantation, and then I really realized that the coffee I drink in the Netherlands is well, not as good as it can be. Let me put it that way, in a positive sense. As I stated before, also see if you can, how you can have this collaboration. I invited Alejandro Echeverri, who was one of the masterminds of the transformation of the city of Medellin, to give a lecture here in the Netherlands. And I'm still, we also did a workshop in 2011 in Curacao with Alejandro and his counterpart back then. So it's always also seeing how you can collaborate. At this moment, I use a lot of my inspiration that I got from the city of Medellin in my research here in the Netherlands, designing cities for all, for the ones that are not from the Netherlands. But the big cities in the Netherlands only consist of minorities. And you see the challenges are not comparable to cities in developing countries, but we do have these big differences between people, and that is what I'm researching and trying to come up with solutions to have a more inclusive architecture. We participated in a competition for design of a hospital in Bucaramanga. What is always important if you want to do business in another country, but even in another city. I mean, I work on all the Dutch islands, and in each island I have a person that I can go to, you know, tell me why something is not working. You know, should I send the email once more, or should I just wait? What are the political situations at that moment? You know, things take into the consideration. I mean, it's less like that in the Netherlands, but in most Caribbean, Latin American countries, right before election is not really the best time to start a collaboration. It's better to wait after elections, that you have more stability, and then people make plans for the coming 4 years. I mean, everything changes after 4 years, basically. So this was a very interesting process. And also, we try to work from the point of view of respect for the local or the country where we are working in. And what we did here, for instance, in the facade, is study indigenous patterns of handicraft or art that was made in the pre-Columbian period in this region in Colombia. And we use that as an inspiration to create this facade. And that's how we try to mix. So using high-end technology. This was modeled in Rhino, if I'm not mistaken, so that we could adapt the transparency of the facade, and we were using patterns from the past. Now, I don't see part of my screen because but okay, I should know it. Well, sometimes you go and look very far for innovation, and we can learn a lot from the barrios, and I'm not you know, I also see the challenges that you have in barrios and the challenges these people have to survive and to make a living. But for instance, what you can see here, which is if you are talking about circular designing, is that you work with the landscape. Because they don't have big excavators, the people in a barrio have to work with the landscape. What you also see is the reuse of material. If you look at the roofs, most of the roof sheets are reused. Probably if you zoom into the windows, quite some of the windows will also be reused. So it's not a new concept. It's a concept that has been there, but specifically we have seen development often is moving away from our tradition. But sometimes you have to go back and make it understandable back to what you did before. And that also brings me to the point that innovation is culturally dependent. So what can be an innovation, for instance, in Colombia is maybe not an innovation in the Netherlands, and also vice versa. So for you to innovate, to bring circular economy, it's very, very important to know where the people are at this moment without judging, trying to understand why they do what they do the way they do. And then from there, try to bring it to a next level so that we can improve the environment for all of us on this planet. So I think this can be for me, always very inspirational. I touched a little bit on it already, intelligent design versus technological gadgets. That's my opinion as a designer, as an architect, that I think we should put more energy in an intelligent design, in a sense that make a facade do what it has to do. For instance, a city as Bucaramanga, but also in Medellin, you have like what they call endless spring, Medellin, the city of the endless spring. So you actually, if you are able to discharge the heat created in the building, you don't need air conditioning. So, and that is, I think we should invest very much in that, in trying to use what we have, what is already available, and see how we can work for that, and then use technology as an extra. It's much easier to place solar panels on a building than to create an intelligent facade. And solar panels are relatively easy. Not that we shouldn't do it, but I think that is very important. This was mentioned already. You can see that in the more than 10 years that I've been visiting Colombia, that you see a big change in this part of sustainability, that more and more buildings are being LEED certified. LEED is comparable to the European system of BREEAM. For instance, we did a hospital in Curacao that was LEED Gold, has a LEED Gold certification, which is quite unique in the Western Hemisphere to have a hospital with that kind of certification. And it's very important, as I said, technological gadgets. It's important whatever technology you bring, make sure that they can maintain it in the country that you are doing that. So if they can maintain it in Colombia, but in Colombia, there's a quite high level of education there. So I don't think we have a big challenge. What is very, very important for us Dutch people is to know that we are basically the only country in the world that I know where we have this very direct way of communicating. And especially in the Caribbean or Latin America, communication is more indirect. So if you don't get an answer to your question, don't repeat it louder. It's maybe because the person doesn't want or cannot answer that question. So then find a way in a more, always try to ask your question in a very humble way and not as direct. And also we tend to be, as Dutch, very convincing that we are the best in everything. We are very good in many things, but we can learn from a lot of people. So yeah, that's that. I wanted to end with that note, because I think in collaboration elsewhere in the world, it's very important to respect the culture where you work.
Many thanks, Liongo. That's a wealth of experience and a wealth of passion as well for the country here, I think. So that's very inspiring. Now, before we go to the Q&A, I would like to give the floor to Nico Smit from RVO, the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. Nico is based in the Netherlands and is, well, can be considered as the linking pin between Dutch businesses who want to work in Colombia and their counterparts here in the country. And Nico has been working in Latin America for over 10 years. So please, Nico, can you explain us a little bit more how RVO can be of help for the Dutch business who want to work here? Thank you.
Sure, thank you for the introduction. Let me quickly share my screen. Yeah, I'm working at the RVO, the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, as a business development manager for South America. So any questions you have related to South America, you can always reach out to me. And today I want to tell you a bit more about the relevant RVO instruments, subsidies and programs. And before that, shortly elaborate a bit on the impact that Corona and the lockdowns had on our work at RVO. So RVO, the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, is part of the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate, and we implement activities for that ministry, but also for other ministries like the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Agriculture, but also for the European Union and regional governments. We aim to improve the opportunities for entrepreneurs by strengthening their position and helping them realize their international ambitions, and we do that through funding, networking, sharing our knowledge and know-how on the local context and opportunities, and support companies with complying with local laws and regulations. So the short Corona update, as soon as the lockdowns kicked in, we started to make frequently asked question pages for countries and regions where you can find all kinds of information with regards to Corona. So a lot of companies, entrepreneurs came to us with questions about the restrictions, and therefore we made these web pages. So on our website you can find the latest state of affairs and restrictions. And last year, when the lockdown started, we shifted our emphasis on studying more the market opportunities by mapping out these opportunities and promoting those opportunities. We also boosted our digital services. So now we organize a lot of webinars, digital trade missions, and we participate in online trade fairs. And the expectation is that at least until the end of the second quarter of 2021, all our activities will be digital. And due to the Corona crisis, some projects were affected, and we decided that subsidies that we honor to those projects, we will extend those subsidies. And then in a response to the crisis, we also created some new instruments. So looking at trade shows and missions, participation in digital trade shows will be digital at least until the second half of this year. So there won't be any physical trade fair participation for now. However, we do continue the commitment that we already have with the trade shows that were delayed. So the square meters that we already purchased, we still have them, and the next time they will open, let's say, we still have those square meters reserved. In 2021, the majority of the missions will be digital, and if there are any physical missions, there will be small delegations, so no big trade missions as there were before. Hopefully next year that will change again. So going to the instrument subsidies and programs that we offer, I want to kick off with the customized business partner support. That used to be the business Zaken partner scan, the business partner scan. Sorry for that, which was a more standardized tool or fixed package, but now we upgraded that service into a more flexible way of flexible approach, whereby we really start with the client's profile and plans. And we can, for example, advise them on which trade fairs to participate in, or which events, be it digital, to participate in. Or we can get them in touch with existing and new contacts that we have within our network. We still cooperate very closely with the International Economic Network at the various embassies. And we could provide, we still can provide lists of agents, distributors, and production partners. What differs from the previous version is that there's no cost involved. So I think that's very positive. A popular program that we have is Starters in International Business, and as the title implies, it is aimed for those companies that start to do international business, and for them we have various vouchers or discounts. We have coaching vouchers in case they need companies need individual guidance on developing a strategic action plan. We have market entry vouchers in case companies need guidance on market entry activities. And we have vouchers for a first-time trade mission or trade show participation. And finally, we have vouchers for those that need fiscal and legal support while going international. New in this line of vouchers is the Kickstart Voucher. And it differs from the other vouchers in that it's focusing on Dutch businesses that are already active internationally. And was really meant as a response to the first lockdown to kick off the international business again, to give it a boost. And Dutch businesses can apply to a max of 2,500 euro or 80% of the cost in case they want to hire a consultant or advisor to help them out with a renewed marketing plan to develop a new digital business model and develop an alternative supply chain in case this supply chain was affected by the crisis. A popular subsidy scheme that we offer is called DHI or DHI. The D stands for demonstration project, for which we can provide a subsidy up to 200,000 euro or 50% of the cost in case you would like to demonstrate that your technology or product or service is effective and cost efficient in the local context. The H stands for haalbaarheidsstudie or feasibility study, for which we have a subsidy of 100,000 or 50% of the cost. And that allows you to demonstrate that your product or service is technically and financially feasible. And lastly, we have a subsidy up to 100,000 euro or 50% of the cost for investment preparation studies. We also have a fund through which we provide loans, guarantees, and export financing. It's called the Dutch Good Growth Fund. And it's meant for those companies that want to invest or export in foreign markets, but cannot obtain these financial services or instruments at the commercial bank because they consider the target market too risky. And we can provide up to 50 million in financial support per project or insurances up to 30 million. We also participate in various strategic trade shows where we have so-called Netherlands pavilions, so big pavilions that are branded in the Netherlands style. At newer trade fairs or smaller trade fairs, we can provide the SME lounge or network lounge, which is not so much individual stands, but more like a common space where you can do matchmaking activities or networking activities, demonstrate your products, etc. Also, these network lounges are branded in the Netherlands, branding. And branch organizations or sector organizations, they can apply for a subsidy if they want to organize such a lounge at a trade show. And they can apply up to 35,000 euro or 60% of the costs, with the requirement that there's a minimum of 10 participating companies. Last but not least, we have a program called Partners for International Business. And this is a long-term public-private partnership. And it's meant to position a cluster of companies and knowledge institutes in a foreign market. And we have a funding of 350,000 euro for a period of 2 to 3 years. And this budget can be used for activities like organizing seminars, missions, knowledge-to-knowledge activities, government-to-government activities, or hiring a local liaison. It's really a public-private partnership. So also from the private part, it's expected that the cluster of companies provides a cluster coordinator, contributes to missions and seminars, etc. This was a very brief overview. So if you would like to have more information, I would like to ask you to go to RVO. And if you go to the Colombia webpage, there you can see which subsidies apply to Colombia if you would like to do business in Colombia. Also at this webpage, you can see what kind of business opportunities we identified in Colombia. You find some facts and figures about the trade that the Netherlands conducts with Colombia, and some more information about the business cultures, do and don'ts. Also, there's more information on international business on the website of ondernemersplein.nl and internationaalondernemer.nl. And if you have questions about the subsidies or instruments, or would like to know more about doing business in Colombia or in Latin America in general, please feel free to reach out. And that's it for now. I would like to give the floor back to Carolina. And let me stop sharing this. Yeah.
Many thanks, Nico. That's a good overview of the instruments. Now, we have a few minutes left for a Q&A session. So please, if you have a question, either raise your hand in the raise your hand button, or write it in the chat message. We already have one question from Fenyu Lin from the Blue 21 company. I don't know, Fenyu, would you like to ask that about Chemical? I think it was your question. Fenyu is on mute. Maybe we can unmute Fenyu.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Thank you for the great presentations. I was wondering about when the Congress is planned to take place this year, more or less.
Yeah, the Chemical Congress you're asking for,
Yes.
no? Yes, Natalia Piñeros, do you want to say something about that?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Fenyu. Yeah, the Chemical Congress usually takes place in September every year, but we have to find out if they are going to make it possible this year. If it is going to take place, it's going to be virtual, for sure. But we, as I mentioned, we are going to send you updates via email or the WhatsApp group that we are going to create in case you are interested in being part of.
Yes, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you, Natalia. Do we have more questions? Maybe in the meanwhile, it's good for me to say that there will be a few, we will do some follow-up after this webinar with the companies that are here. And we will do some reach out to see whether there is interest for a more specific and a more get to know each other webinar later on for the companies to have the floor and share their experiences. Rens, you have a question, please. You'll have the floor. Can you introduce yourself maybe shortly?
Yeah, Rens Metz. I'm responsible for the BIS and PAM, Senior Export Organization in the Netherlands, where I'm responsible for the building sector. We are on the moment trying to develop some webinars for South America, especially also for Colombia. And I would suggest that if people are interested to have a small part of that webinar to tell something about their developments in the Netherlands, it would be very nice. It would help us to reach out to small companies in Colombia to know a little bit about what we're doing. And that also we could support afterwards with our information, our exchange of knowledge to help those companies. On the moment, PAM only works by remote coaching, as quite clearly by the COVID. But in next year, or maybe the end of this year, we also try to have missions on the ground for 2 weeks at SMEs there. So if people from the Netherlands are interested and have a good story to tell, we could bring them into our webinars. Shall I? What I can do is give you my address and email, then people can contact me.
Excellent. Yes, we will make sure that that we'll share your contact details.
Okay,
to do that.
I write it in the Q&A. Okay, all right.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay. Well, if there's 2 minutes more for questions, but if we don't have any more questions, we might close the session. Many thanks to all of you for participating. Many thanks to the speakers for their presentation. And as said, we will be in touch after the webinar to see the more specific interest of the business and to follow up on behalf of RVO, the Holland House, and the Embassy. Many thanks and have a good day. Bye.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you, Caroline. Have a good day. Bye-bye.